An important aesthetic in music of the 19th century is tonal ambiguity. Several techniques were employed to achieve this aesthetic. The avoidance of authentic cadences, the use of predominant harmonies in place of dominant harmonies, a confusion of the phrase model, semitonal or chromatic voice leading, off-tonic beginnings, and the use of symmetrical harmonies, such as the fully diminished seventh chord, which could be enharmonically reinterpreted in order to access remote keys. Let's listen to this excerpt by Brahms, and then use Roman numeral analysis to help understand how this music exhibits tonal ambiguity. The music is in A major, and the first chord is a root position tonic. However, the next two measures contain all subdominant harmony. The typical phrase model approach would establish tonic with 5 and 1. Interestingly, Brahms inverts the subdominant so that A is in the bass for the first measure and a half. The A pedal point implies A major in root position, but D major, the subdominant, is used instead. In measure 3, there is a clear use of the phrase model, predominant, dominant, tonic, but the resolution to tonic is mid-phrase and inverted, obscured rather than emphasized. The end of the first phrase in measure 4 arrives at a cadential 6/4, a common technique in tonal music, but Brahms does not resolve the cadential 6/4 to tonic. Instead, he uses a passing F sharp in the tenor to arrive at a secondary dominant of 4, which resolves to 4/6. The emphasis placed on the subdominant and avoidance of tonic is one of the main factors contributing to this music's tonal ambiguity. The second phrase, measure 5 through 8, tonicizes, then modulates to the dominant, E major. Measure 6 is entirely B dominant 7, which resolves to 1/6 in measure 7. The phrase closes with an imperfect authentic cadence in measure 8. The A chord at the end of measure 8 is somewhat ambiguous. It sounds like the subdominant in the key of E, but is also a return to the tonic. The E chord functions as the dominant to A, but the rhythmic placement of the tonic at the end of measure 8 is weak, and the A major chord sounds more like a pickup to the next measure than a cadential arrival on tonic. The placement of the tonic as a pickup is the same as the beginning of the piece. The 4 chord is on the downbeat and receives more emphasis than the opening tonic. Let's listen again, paying special attention to the qualities that contribute to the music's tonal ambiguity. The prelude to Wagner's opera Tristan und Isolde exhibits tonal ambiguity through various techniques: highly chromatic melody, dissonant melodic downbeats that resolve late in the measure, avoidance of authentic cadences, much more dominant harmony than tonic, incessant modulation, and chromatic mediant key relationships. Overall, the tonic is implied or quickly passed over by Wagner. It is not overtly stated, and no particular key area is stable for very long. Harmonic motion in this music is more about chordal succession than a functional progression. Let's listen to this excerpt. The key signature is A minor, and the first note is A, but there isn't a complete tonic triad. The leap to F, an appoggiatura, and resolution at the end of the measure to E, a chord tone, is the first of many melodic dissonances that characterize this music. The absence of a third in this chord is significant. There is ambiguity whether the key is major or minor. The third measure is 5/7 with an accented chromatic passing tone on the downbeat in the melody. The long rest after the half cadence emphasizes the anticipation of tonic resolution that does not come. Because the first measure is tonic and the third measure is dominant, the second measure should be a predominant if the music were following the phrase model. In fact, it is a predominant harmony, a French 4/3. However, Wagner withholds resolution to the augmented sixth chord until the very end of the measure, the G sharp in the soprano acting as an embellishing tone. The chord on the downbeat of measure 2 looks and sounds unusual compared to the surrounding key, but spelled enharmonically, it is an F half diminished seventh chord. This harmony has come to be known as the Tristan chord, not because the chord itself is unusual, but because its placement in the surrounding context is unique and quite successful in enhancing the tonal ambiguity of the music. The next phrase, measures 4 through 7, is an exact transposition of the first phrase. The music is moved up a minor third to C minor, with the exception of the first note, which is only moved up a second. The B links to the previous harmony and provides a smoother transition. In measures 8 through 10, the music is again transposed up a minor third to the key of E minor. The music still works toward a half cadence on the 5/7 chord, but the predominant harmony has changed to a C augmented triad. Again, this harmony is delayed until the end of the measure by embellishing tones in the soprano and tenor voices. Measures 10 and 11 are repeated an octave higher, emphasizing the half cadence on B7, the 5 of E. Measures 14 and 15 continue to melodically emphasize B7. Measure 16 sets up a powerful cadence in the key of A. The 5/9 chord supports a melody that climbs chromatically to a seemingly inevitable arrival on A. But Wagner does not resolve to tonic. The deceptive cadence on F major, a substitute for tonic, is accentuated by the appoggiatura in the melody. What follows in measures 18 through 23 is a series of modulations, sometimes referred to as a modulation chain. The keys of G major, C major, D minor, and E minor are all touched upon but never firmly established. At the end of measure 24, approximately 2 minutes into the prelude, the first cadence on A occurs. However, this imperfect authentic cadence is colored by embellishing tones, and the music moves quickly away from tonic in the following measure, continuing in the highly chromatic and modulatory fashion established in measures 18 through 24. This prelude is one of the preeminent examples of how dissonance, harmonic context, and tonal ambiguity can be used to sculpt incredibly powerful and affecting music.